My wife was cheating on me with her best friend's husband. I knew, and I quietly laid a plan to expose everything. Sounds like something out of a bad movie, right? But this was my life. I'm a 35-year-old structural engineer. My wife's 33, sharp, beautiful, driven. We'd been married for 6 years, no kids. We both agreed early on that we wanted to focus on our careers first, build something stable before expanding our family. From the outside, we looked solid. We had a decent apartment in a good part of town, 2 cars, yearly vacations to tropical places. We were that couple who looked like they had it all figured out. I worked long hours, 60, sometimes 70 hours a week designing commercial buildings. I was grinding, laying the foundation literally and figuratively for our future. Sarah was climbing the ladder in a marketing agency. Ambitious, smart, always one step ahead. We had routines, rhythms. Sundays were for grocery runs and meal prepping. Friday nights were movie nights. She used to leave notes in my lunch bag, cute ones, stuff like, "Kill it today," or "Only 3 more days until Friday, cuddles." That was the picture. Stable, predictable, or so I thought. It started small. The notes stopped. Then, the meal prep turned into quick takeout because she was too busy. Client dinners, team happy hours, out-of-town conferences started creeping into our calendar more and more. At first I thought, okay, she's just networking. We both knew the game. Climbing up means playing along, but the shifts weren't just in her schedule. Her clothes changed. She swapped her soft sweaters and jeans for sharp suits, heels, sleek dresses. A new gym membership popped up on our bank statement, some boutique place with a juice bar and towel service. Then came the haircut. She chopped her long hair into this clean, high-level executive bob that every woman at her agency seemed to have. The texting habits changed too. She started angling her phone away from me, keeping her screen locked. Late-night messages with just work stuff. One night I rolled over around 2 in the morning, and she wasn't in bed. I found her curled up on the couch, texting like her life depended on it. When I asked what she was doing, she jumped like I'd caught her mid-crime just finalizing something for a client pitch. She said the next day her phone had a new passcode. I chalked it up to stress, to ambition, to the hustle we'd both signed up for, but deep down, something felt off. The warmth between us was thinning. Conversations became surfacely veiled. She stopped asking about my projects, stopped talking about hers except for one name that kept coming up, her mentor, the one guiding her through the agency's politics. His name was Julian. I had started to suspect, but I didn't realize I was already too late. It was a random Tuesday when I got the message. It was from Diana. We weren't exactly close. We knew each other through our spouses. My wife Sarah and her husband Julian had been best friends since high school. The 4 of us had dinners together, weekend trips, polite laughs, shared stories, occasional wine. Diana was quiet, observant, the kind of person who spoke little but seemed to absorb everything. I never imagined I'd be meeting her alone. Her text was short, need to talk, not over the phone. Riverside Caf, 1 o'clock, important. I stared at it for a full minute, then simply replied, okay. Told my boss I had a personal emergency. He didn't ask questions. I'd earned that kind of leeway after years of 12-hour workdays. I got to the cafe a few minutes early. Diana was already there, tucked into a corner booth, oversized sunglasses hiding most of her face. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. She didn't even look up when I sat down. "Thanks for coming," she said quietly. "What's going on?" I asked. "Everything okay?" She didn't hesitate. No small talk, no warm-up. Julian and Seraph had been sleeping together for 4 months. I just sat there, no reaction at first, like my brain needed time to buffer the sentence. Then she slid a manila folder across the table. Proof. Inside, receipts from hotel stays. Photos of Julian and Seraph entering buildings together. Timestamps that matched Seraph's late-night meetings. Screenshots of text conversations that were graphic, unmistakable. They didn't just sleep together, they planned it. Repeatedly, thoroughly. There were pictures of them kissing in parking garages, hotel room bookings, a receipt for a dinner at a place Seraph told me was a client happy hour, messages where they laughed about keeping us in the dark, called me boring, called Diana, Clingy. My hands started to shake. Double quotes. "How did you get all this?" I asked. Diana's voice was still calm, steady. "I found a hotel key in Julian's coat back in December. He said it was for a business trip, but the hotel was 10 minutes from our house." I started watching, digging, and it all unraveled. She took a breath, then said something that cut even deeper. "He's been embezzling from his company, using corporate cards to pay for their trips, dinners, even gifts." She showed me more. Financial documents, altered expense reports, jewelry charged under client appreciation, thousands of dollars, misused, stolen. It wasn't just betrayal. It was fraud. I looked at Diana. She wasn't crying. She was past that. Her face was tired, drawn, but composed. "Why are you showing me this?" "Because you deserve to know," she said. "And because they were going to leave us. Julian's been setting up separate accounts. They were planning to disappear." I felt something click inside me, not rage, not yet, just clarity, purpose. I thanked her, took the folder. And when I stepped out of the cafe, the sky looked different. Like something had shifted. I had the truth in my hands and a plan forming fast in my mind. I walked out of that cafe carrying not just a folder full of evidence, but a new purpose. I didn't go back to work that afternoon. I went straight to the bank. First, I opened a new checking account under my name only. Quiet, clean. I rerouted my direct deposit. Then I transferred nearly all the savings from our joint account into a Techcept, just enough to avoid raising suspicion. Sarah Fraley looked at the finances. Anyway, that was my department. Her mistake. Next, I contacted every credit card company we shared. I removed her as an authorized user where I could. For the joint cards, I lowered the limits and activated alerts for every transaction. I called our investment firm and requested a freeze on our brokerage account, citing security concerns. I wasn't going to let 6 years of disciplined saving go toward weekend getaways with Julian. Then I withdrew $2,000 in cash. Not for spending, for control, insurance. Sometimes when people are cornered they lash out. By 3 p.m., the money was safe. The locks were changed digitally at least. Then I called Bobby. He was a college buddy who went through a divorce last year. His had been messy, painful, but he came out of it sharper, stronger. I asked him for his lawyer's number. He didn't hesitate. Call her. Tell her I sent you. And tell her it's urgent. Her name was Jessica. She picked up on the second ring. No assistant, no receptionist wall. Just a clear, direct voice on the other end. I gave her the summary. 6-year marriage, no kids, affair involving marital funds, financial misconduct by the third party. She had me in her office before the end of the day. Jessica was mid-40s, razor sharp, and didn't waste time on pleasantries. She reviewed the folder from Diana, asked precise questions, and started outlining a plan before I even finished talking. In our state, adultery doesn't carry much weight unless it involves wasting shared assets, and in our case, it absolutely did. Hotel stays, dinners, jewelry, all charged under the guise of work, using money from our joint resources. We had receipts, we had messages, we had leverage. Jessica's recommendation was simple: file for divorce immediately, include the financial abuse, serve the papers at her workplace midweek, right after lunch, for maximum visibility and impact. Cold, calculated, and legally airtight. I paid her retainer right there, $5,000 from my new account, worth every cent. She looked me in the eye before I left and said, "Stay calm, act normal, give me 2 days to prepare everything." I nodded. I had worked 6 years building a life with Sarah. I would spend the next 6 days protecting it from her. 2 days later, it happened. Jessica's process server entered Seraph's office building at precisely 1:58 in the afternoon. She was dressed professionally, carrying a slim manila envelope. By 2:24, my phone lit up. Seraph was calling again and again. I declined each one, watching from across the street, seated in a cafe with a direct view of the glass entrance. I took a slow sip of coffee and waited. At 2:40, the doors burst open. Seraph came out looking like the world had collapsed. Her face was streaked with mascara, her phone pressed to her ear, panic written across every step she took. She didn't see me. She was probably trying to reach Julian. I watched in silence. I didn't go home that night. I stayed at Bobby's again. Around 8 p.m., there was a loud, insistent knock at the door. I already knew who it was. I checked the peephole. It was her, disheveled, wild-eyed, her voice muffled through the door as she called my name. I opened it, just enough to look her in the eye, blocking the entrance. "How could you do this to me?" she screamed, "at work in front of everyone." I said, "Nothing, you humiliated me." Still nothing. She tried to push past me. I didn't move. Her fury cracked into sobs. "We can fix this," she whispered, her voice shaking. "Julian meant nothing. It was a mistake." I looked at her, calm as ice. "I've read the texts. I've seen the receipts. The hotel photos. It wasn't a mistake, it was a plan. Yours and his." She went silent, then cold. "This isn't over," she hissed. "You don't know what you're doing." I closed the door in her face. Through the door I heard her scream, then footsteps fading. That night I slept better than I had in weeks. The next blow came from Julian himself. I was leaving work the next afternoon when I saw him waiting beside my car, leaning against it like he owned the place. Expensive suit, fake confidence. "We need to talk," he said, like we were business partners in a minor dispute. I set my laptop bag down on the hood and stared. "Look, I get it. You're upset, but marriages fall apart. People connect in unexpected ways." I didn't say a word. She needed someone to satisfy her. That was it. One clean punch, square in the face. He dropped like a cut tree. He got up slowly, bleeding from the lip, looking stunned. "You didn't have to humiliate her like that," he said. "Oh, you mean like sleeping with her best friend's husband? That kind of humiliation." He tried to pivot. "About the divorce papers, the financial accusations. They're exaggerated." There it was. The real reason he came. "I've seen everything. The stolen money, the fake expenses. You're not worried about Sarah if you're worried about getting caught." His face paled. "You're making a big mistake." "No, you did." Enjoy explaining to your company why your client meetings all. What happened at the Marriott downtown? He flinched. Tell me something, I added. Does Diana know about all the other affairs too? Or was Seraph your first full-time project? If you've ever met someone like Julian, the kind who thinks charm, excuses, betrayal, drop a comment. And if you think this story needs to be heard, you already know what to do with that like button. That same week, Diana came over to Bobby's place carrying a flash drive in a brown paper bag with takeout. We cleared the dining table and laid everything out. Documents, spreadsheets, emails, phone records. It wasn't just evidence of an affair anymore. This was a full-blown financial investigation in progress. Diana had spent the last few weeks digging through Julian's work files, reconciling expense reports, cross-referencing dates and locations. She wasn't just a wronged wife. She was a trained forensic accountant. Turns out, before marrying Julian, she worked in corporate fraud detection. He had no idea how deep her knowledge went. He always thought I was just the pretty wife who handled the social calendar, she said. He forgot I also knew how to find hidden accounts. What we compiled was damning. Hotel charges marked as client entertainment. Expensive dinners filed under business development. Jewelry for Seraph listed as appreciation gifts. Over the last 4 years, Julian had misappropriated nearly $400,000. More than $50,000 of that during the affair alone. We created a single encrypted file with all the evidence. Diana set up a fresh email account through a VPN. The recipient list was precise. Julian's company board, the CFO, the internal audit team, and an external third-party firm they used for compliance checks. No emotion, no commentary, just a subject line. Confidential expense audit request, urgent review required. She clicked send. We waited. Within hours, someone inside Julian's company had forwarded the message. By the next morning, Diana's friend, who worked in the same building, called. Security escorted Julian out of his office. They took his laptop, revoked his access, and told him not to return. The dominoes were falling fast. Word spread that an internal investigation had begun. An outside auditing firm was reviewing all senior-level expenses from the past 5 years. Julian's name was at the top of the list. For years, he played the game thinking he was untouchable, that his charm and inflated sales reports made him indispensable. But charm doesn't override numbers. And numbers don't lie. We didn't celebrate, not yet, but the tone had shifted. The first blow landed. The cleanup had begun, and now, it was only a matter of time. The courtroom was quiet, sterile, almost too calm for the storm that was about to unfold. Jessica stood tall, composed, her briefcase lined with 6 years' worth of trust-turned evidence on the other side. Seraph sat next to a lawyer who looked about 10 years younger than mine and 10 times more nervous. She avoided eye contact with me entirely. The judge opened the session. We were there to finalize divorce proceedings and determine the division of marital assets. Jessica didn't waste a second. She laid everything out in a precise timeline. Its financial records, hotel bookings, emails, text messages. Every single detail was supported by documentation, cross-referenced and irrefutable. She kept her voice calm, almost clinical, but her words were sharpened like scalpels. Your Honor, she said, this is not a case of infidelity alone. This is a case where marital assets were knowingly misused to support an extramarital affair. The defendant's lover, Mr. Julian Reese, is currently under formal investigation for corporate embezzlement. We have reason to believe that a portion of those stolen funds was funneled directly into the relationship between him and Mrs. Weber. The room went still. Seraph's lawyer tried to object, but Jessica was already a step ahead. She handed the judge a binder filled with itemized evidence. This is not vengeance, she said. This is accountability. The judge asked only a few questions. He took notes slowly, glanced over the documentation, then turned to Sir. Lawyer, do you dispute the financial evidence? There was a pause, then a quiet no. Your Honor, the ruling was swift. I retained full ownership of our condo, my retirement accounts, and the majority of our shared savings. Seraph received her personal belongings, her car, and enough money for temporary housing. It wasn't cruel. It was fair, but justice didn't stop with the divorce. Julian was now the center of a broader corporate investigation. Forensic auditors had expanded their scope, uncovering additional irregularities that stretched back years. The company had brought in outside counsel. The SEC had been notified. Criminal charges were now inevitable. I didn't gloat. I didn't celebrate. But I did allow myself one clear thought. The punishment for betrayal doesn't come from me. It comes from the law. And for both of them, the verdict was only just beginning. Now the dust was starting to settle. But one question remained. What happened to Diana and me? 6 months have passed since everything collapsed, and somehow, life feels lighted up. Diana officially launched her own forensic accounting firm. It started small, but within a few months, she'd landed 3 major clients' companies looking to protect themselves from people exactly like Julian. Her company's slogan still makes me smile every time I hear it. Because your finance director might be funding his affair with your money. Brutal, honest, effective. As for me, I've settled into a new rhythm. Work became easier once I no longer had to carry the weight of pretending everything at home was fine. I moved into a smaller apartment, minimalist, peaceful mind. I sleep better, I eat slower, I laugh more. And Diana, we took it slow. It started with shared takeout, long walks, inside jokes that came from surviving the same kind of war. We didn't plan anything, it just unfolded naturally. There was no pressure, no rebound energy, just two people who had been broken the same way, quietly piecing themselves back together side by side. We've been dating for 4 months now. Last week we celebrated our unofficial anniversary at the same cafe where she gave me that manila folder. This time no sunglasses, no tension, just coffee.com, and the kind of comfort that only comes from walking through fire and making it out the other side with someone who truly gets it. And then, as if the universe couldn't resist one last punchline, Serif showed up. She texted me first, "Can we meet for coffee? I've been thinking, it's urgent." I didn't respond. That evening the doorbell rang. I checked the security camera. There she was, standing outside, dressed down, eyes hollow. Diana and I sat on the couch with our coffees, watching the live feed like it was our favorite drama. She knocked, then pounded. "Gavin, I know you're in there. We need to talk." I unmuted the intercom. "Sorry, we're busy. Celebrating our 4-month anniversary." Serif stared at the camera, speechless, then erupted. "You're with my best friend." Diana leaned in. "Former best friend, current girlfriend. Upgrade on both counts." Serif lost it, screamed threats, accusations. We muted the feed, sipped our coffee and smiled. Some stories don't need closure, just distance. So, let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like betrayal was the thing that finally set you free? If you've ever walked through pain and come out stronger, type the word freedom in the comments down. If this story made you feel just a little lighter, maybe even gave you a reason to smile. Don't forget to subscribe, because I've got more stories to tell and some of them might sound a little too familiar.